viewers, welcome back to our series of lectures on elementary quantum mechanics. Today we will take up valence bond theory. In fact, this is part 1 of our discussion on valence bond theory. Today's session is planned as follows, that is, to begin with, we will briefly review what we did in the previous session. Thereafter, we will take up the approach of valence bond theory. Then we will try to see that how do we quantum mechanically give a description of bonding in a simple molecule like hydrogen molecule. Then we will compare the valence bond treatment or the valence bond theory and molecular orbital theory's treatment of bonding in hydrogen molecule. Then towards the end we will try to briefly touch on the bonding in polyatomic molecules, and towards the end we will sum up what we do today. Okay. So, with that kind of an outline of the session today, let us make a beginning by reviewing what we did in the previous session. You would recall that we began by reviewing the episodes prior to that, wherein we took up the quantum mechanical treatment of hydrogen molecule ion. Thereafter, in the last session, we extended the treatment to the description of bonding in homonuclear diatomic molecules of period 1 and 2. Then we took up the description of the formation of molecular orbitals for homonuclear diatomic molecules of period 2. We took two cases, one with and the other one without the mixing of s and p orbitals, and in the process we got two kind of molecular orbital energy level diagrams. Then towards the end we discussed the molecular orbital configuration for homonuclear diatomic molecules of period 2. So, let us see what is this valence bond approach. Valence bond approach basically is an alternative quantum mechanical description of bond formation. We had talked about one description in terms of molecular orbital theory. Now, this is an alternative quantum mechanical description which in fact came prior to molecular orbital theory. In this case, essentially the bond formation according to valence bond approach is visualized as follows, that is, the atomic orbitals of the two atoms which are going to form a bond, they approach each other and they overlap. When they overlap, the charge density in the internuclear region increases, and this charge density in the internuclear region holds the two nuclei together, and we say a bond is formed. So, that is such a simple description. Let us try to see. What basically happens is that suppose you got two atoms A and B which are far apart. Now, when they are approaching each other, when they come closer, then what happens is the electrons of atom A are attracted by the nuclei of atom B and vice versa, and the electrons of the two atoms are repelling each other, and so are the nuclei. So, as a consequence, what happens is some kind of attractive and repulsive forces come into play. Attractive forces being stronger than the repulsive ones, and as a consequence the two atoms come closer, and when they overlap what you get is a molecule of AB. So, that is probably we can see it like this. Now, suppose they got two atoms, this is my atom A, this is electron A, electron 1 on atom A, this is my atom B, this is the nucleus, this is the electron here. The two are far apart. So, there is no kind of interaction between the two. As they come closer and closer, what happens is this electron gets influenced by this nucleus, this is attraction here. This electron and this nucleus start getting attracted to each other. As a consequence, the energy is decreasing. As they come further close, these two electrons start repelling each other, and so do these two nuclei. And when the two come closer, essentially what happens is there is an interplay of attractive and repulsive forces, and as a consequence, since attractive forces are stronger, there is an overlap there, and we say a bond formation has taken place. That is a simple possible description of bond formation in terms of valence bond theory. Okay, let us move further. Now, if I want to say talk about hydrogen molecule particularly, I just talked about any two atoms coming together. If I talk about hydrogen molecule, probably we can visualize it as follows. There are two hydrogen atoms. I am showing that one s orbital of each one of them far apart from each other. There is no kind of interaction. they come closer and closer. So, when they come to a distance close enough, so that the two orbitals can overlap. So, what happens is, in each of these orbitals there is an unpaired electron. When they come overlap like this, then these unpaired electrons get paired up, and this pairing of electron leads to what is called as bond formation. So, that is a kind of a description we can have to valence bond approach to formation of a bond in hydrogen molecule. I can give you another way of looking at it. This essentially are electrostatic potential maps. In this kind of a picture, what basically we do is, these colors are significant. They are not just for sake of it there, they have a significance there. The red color is a hot color, whereas blue is a cold color, and these hot and cold essentially refer to the electron density. Higher red color means there is more electron density. So, what you see is that when the two atoms are far apart, and then they basically are blue, because there is no attractive influence. But we can see here in this picture as shown that these two atoms have come to some extent close. So, there is some kind of a slight redness developing over here. That means some kind of a charge accumulation is taking place. When they come closer and closer, we find that this charge density increases. So, when they come close enough, so we find that this red portion here shows then accumulation of electron density in the internuclear, because there are two nuclei in between. So, this is there are two nuclei there, and this is a increase in the charge density, and that is what is basically referred to as bond according to valence bond theory. This is a very simple description. Okay. Now, we can just summarize like this. Thus, according to valence bond theory, a covalent bond may be seen as the accumulation of high charge density in the internuclear region resulting from the overlapping of atomic orbitals. So, there are two things: one, overlapping; two, accumulation of charge density. So, that is what qualifies a valence bond description of a bond formation. Okay. Now, let us see that probably I have just given you s orbitals only. We can even think of, suppose I want to talk about bonding in say fluorine molecule. So, bonding in fluorine molecule can be seen just as follows, that is the 2p orbitals, 2pz orbitals of the two fluorine atoms, they can come along the internuclear axis, they can overlap, form a bond, because there is an unpaired electron in each one of them. So, that electron pair gets paired up, there is an increase in electron density, we say a bond formation is taking place. We go from two atoms of fluorine to a fluorine molecule, or maybe we can even think of say HF. In case of HF, what happens is you have got a p orbital of fluorine atom and an s orbital of hydrogen atom. The two come closer, they overlap, because there is unpaired electron here, unpaired electron here, the two overlap, we say there is a bond formation there. So, it is a very simplistic description qualitatively speaking. Now, let us take up the quantum mechanical description of formation of hydrogen molecule. What basically we mean by this is that the process of bond formation, as I just described for according to valence bond theory, how do we translate into some kind of a mathematical expression according to quantum mechanics. Now, the wave function, suppose I want to talk about a hydrogen molecule when the two atoms are far apart. When they are far apart, say this is atom A, this is atom B, this is electron number 1, electron number 2. So, electron number 1 is with nuclear is kind of in the influence of nucleus A, electron 2 is under the influence of nucleus B. The two are far apart, and mathematically speaking that can be shown as a wave function which is say 1s A 1, 1s B 2, which means electron 1 is associated with nucleus A, electron 2 is associated with nucleus P. So, that is a kind of description we have. Now, but what happens is when the two come closer, then how do I describe that? When the two come closer, probably when the distance separation is not very large, it becomes very difficult to distinguish between the two electrons, because this 1 and 2 is our tagging, the electrons cannot be distinguished. So, when the two are close by, then probably even this description is valid. That is, we can say that it is 1s A 2, 1s B 1, which means electron 2 is under the influence of nucleus A and electron 1 is under the influence of nucleus B. Nothing wrong in that, both are equally likely. So, in such a case, how do I describe? How do I describe the molecule? The way out is that the true wave function for such a system would be a linear combination of the two possibilities. And if I invoke that, we can write that psi valence bond to be equal to psi 1 and psi 2. Psi 1 and psi 2, which are the ones that I just described here. Probably I can put now psi valence bond to be equal to say 1s A1, 1s B2, 1s A2, 1s B1, which means that this is my psi A, psi 1, this is my psi 2. So, the overall wave function would be sum of these two wave functions. So, that is the valence bond description of hydrogen molecule. We will read more into this as we proceed further. But I think I will like to just make a small mention here, that is, what does this represent here? Now, suppose that two nuclei A and B and the respective electrons are with them, essentially this 1s A1 essentially represents one hydrogen atom, so does this. So, both of these components of this wave function essentially represent a covalent structure. That means two hydrogen atoms are bonded by an electron pair between them. So, that is what it represents. That means this is structural representation of this wave function. Okay. And if you just try to plot this wave function, what you find is that if this will be say 1s A1, 1s B2, and this is the reverse of that. And these two wave functions, when put together, because there is an overlapping taking place, there is a constructive overlap, this will lead to some kind of a enhanced electron density in the internuclear region, because this is nucleus 1, nucleus 2. So, this electron density is increased over there. So, this kind of electron distribution, which is described as a wave function we just gave, is called as a sigma bond, because this electron distribution is going to have cylindrical symmetry around the internuclear axis. So, such a bond formation, which is because of the kind of lateral overlap of not exactly lateral overlap, an overlap along the internuclear axis, that will be called as a sigma bond. Okay, we will talk more about it as we proceed further. Now, but is that a right description? Is that true that when a hydrogen molecule is formed from two hydrogen atoms, we have got just covalent structures? Maybe we can have more situations, like you may have a scenario of this kind, that is two hydrogen atoms are such that there is one is H minus, one is H plus. Again, or maybe you can have the first one as H plus, then second is H minus. This can be given mathematically in terms of wave function as ionic components there, because this is an ionic structure, so is this one. So, this can be described in terms of the following wave function. It is 1s A1, 1s A2. What it means is that both the electrons, electron 1 and electron 2, are in the neighborhood of nucleus A, whereas around the nucleus 2 or nucleus B, nothing is there, there is no electron over there. It is a possibility, because when the two are so close, it may happen and for a given moment the both the electrons are near one of the nuclei, or it may be the other nucleus. So, that will be given by the following description there. So, this is another possibility which valence bond theory has not considered as yet. So, the wave function can be improved by incorporating ionic wave functions. What it means is the following, because we just logically are trying to build up our description, we find that the starting point for us when we talk about the overlap of atomic orbitals, that gives us only covalent structures, whereas there is every possibility, there is a reasonably you can say that there is a finite possibility that we have got ionic structures over there. So, in that sense we can say our the wave function which we created is not adequate enough. Probably we can improve on the wave function, we can improve the wave function, we can take a trial wave function psi to be say some C1 psi Vb, which is the wave function we talked about earlier, which represents only covalent structures, plus we can have some component of the ionic part over there, that means this whole wave function there. When I do that, this is a little involved exercise, but it has been worked out. So, what happens is when you take this kind of an approach, I am sharing you some data with you. The experimental values for the bond energy of hydrogen molecule is 436 kilojoules per mole, and the bond length happens to be 74 picometers. But if I just consider say the valence bond wave function, the covalent part of it, I find that bond energy comes out to be 303 kilojoules, whereas the bond length is 86.9 picometers, which is far away from the experimental values. But if I invoke some kind of a wave function which has covalent as well as ionic components, which the proportion of the two can be varied, we find that you can have bond energy to be about 388 and bond length comes out to be 74.9, which is not far from the true value there. Which means is that empirically I can keep on playing around. That means I can bring in more terms and try to get a reasonably good description which is in agreement with the experiment, and that is possible there. So, essentially the basic premise of valence bond theory, it talks about only the covalent structures, but they can be modified, they can be improved by incorporating the ionic parts of that. So, that is the kind of description we have here. Let us see what did molecular orbital theory tell us in the context of hydrogen molecule. You will remember from the previous session that according to Amour theory, the molecular orbital configuration of hydrogen molecule is sigma 1 sigma G2 1 sigma U 0. That means both the electrons are in the 1 sigma G or the sigma 1s bonding orbital. If that be so, and then this orbital happened to be the following, it was just 1sa plus 1sb. That means it was created by constructive overlap of two 1s orbitals of atom 1 and atom 2, or at atom A and atom B. Now, if I try to put these two electrons into this, what is the wave function here? So, this whole this configuration translates into the following wave function. It is 1sa plus 1sb, that is a wave function we have. So, electron 1 is in that particular wave function or that particular orbital, and same orbital contains electron 2 also. So, that is the description according to molecular orbital theory. Let us see, if I expand this expression, what do I get? You see here that there are two terms here, there is electron 1, another two terms here, two orbitals here, electron 2. When I open these brackets, what do I get? What do I get is the following, I get 4 terms, 1sa1, 1sa2, 1sa1, 1sb2, 1sa2, 1sb1, 1sb1, 1sb2. What does it mean? If you just look closely, the first structure here represents H minus H plus, because both the electrons are at nucleus A, 1 and 2 both are at A. This gives you a covalent structure, so does this one. This also is an ionic structure, H plus H minus. So, what I find is, according to our molecular orbital description, the wave function contains, there is an equal proportion of the ionic as well as the covalent components. Whereas, in case of valence bond theory, we had only the covalent components, there was nothing like ionic. So, if I compare the two approaches, we find that size valence bond was just this HH, HH, which I mentioned earlier too. Whereas, in case of molecular orbital theory, there is an HH component, that means there are two covalent components and there are two ionic components. So, we can conclude from these two, this small kind of discussion, that the valence bond treatment underestimates the ionic structures, whereas molecular orbital theory overestimates them. Because the true picture, because we do not expect that a simple molecule like hydrogen is going to be ionic to about 50%. No, it is not expected. That means it is overestimating, whereas valence bond theory was ignoring it totally. So, what do we do? What do we do is that from molecular orbital theory treatment, kind of a description, we try to adjust in such a fashion that we take out some ionic component from there, make it closer to the reality. And in case of valence bond theory, we have to bring in, we can add into some kind of ionic components, and in the limits, the two descriptions becomes identical. That means, what it amounts to saying is that valence bond theory and molecular orbital theory are two alternative ways of looking at the bond formation in case of simple molecules. And since the molecule happens to be the same, the description also comes out to be similar. The only thing is the approaches are different. So, they are different in terms of the valence bond theory. If you just see, it visualized as localized interaction, because the two atomic orbitals come, they interact in a very local way. Whereas, in case of molecular orbital theory, the molecular orbital theory visualizes some kind of a delocalized molecular orbital. That means, the two atomic orbitals combine, they create molecular orbitals. which belong to the whole molecule and they are not localized. So, there is a delocalized kind of a description, there is a localized description. So, that is where the two theories differ from each other. So, we have seen qualitatively as well as slightly mathematically in terms of quantum mechanics in what way are the two theories different from each other, but as I mentioned earlier, both of them in the limits come to be the same, they have the similar kind of description. Okay. Now, say I want to extend the argument, say I have just talked about very simple molecules like hydrogen. Now, suppose I want to go to a larger molecule like say nitrogen molecule. For nitrogen, the electron configuration of nitrogen is 1s2, 2px1, 2py1, 2pz1. We know that because this is a valence bond, valence shell electron configuration there. Now, so what happens is, suppose there is one nitrogen atom there, another nitrogen atom there. So, there is a 2s orbital here, 2px, py, 2pz, the 3 orbitals there. When the two approach, what happens is there are 3 orbitals which are occupying unpaired electrons. They happen to be 2px, 2py and 2pz. Here same here. When the two approach, the 2pz of this and 2pz of this which are on the around the internuclear axis, they come and overlap, they give a sigma bond, that is one bond formation. Whereas 2px and 2py, 2px on this, 2px on this, 2py on this and 2py on this, these cannot, they are not along the internuclear axis. So, they overlap laterally and then they give rise to the pi bonds there. And what we have is, that means the 2px and 2py orbitals of the two atoms overlap sideways to give pi bonds. Okay. So, essentially we can say that the bonding in nitrogen consists of a sigma bond and 2 pi bonds, and commonly we just write it as n triple bond n. So, this triple bond, the 3 bonds there are actually, one of them happens to be a sigma bond and 2 of them happen to be the pi bonds. Sigma bond because of the overlapping around the internuclear axis of 2pz orbitals, and px and py give you the pi orbitals there. So, that is the kind of description we have for nitrogen molecule. Let us move on to polyatomic molecules. You know that the polyatomic molecules, they come in variety of shapes. The simplest possible molecule we can think of is say water, which is angular in shape because it has a band structure there. You talk about carbon dioxide, incidentally that happens to be linear. You talk about ammonia, it is again pyramidal. All these things you have come across in your school chemistry, where we have learnt about these basic structures there. But the point which I want to bring home here is that any polyatomic molecule will have some kind of a structure, a geometry is there, whereas the diatomic molecules are linear by default. What it means is, if I take any two atoms and when the two atoms come and form a bond, the molecule which is obtained by as a consequence of that is got to be linear, there is no other shape possible. However, the moment you go to a larger molecule, any molecule having say even 3 atoms, as I just mentioned, say a water molecule or some larger molecules there, they have got some kind of a shape. What you find is that the valence bond theory which we have given, which we have discussed so far, gives a reasonable description. We have found that the description of the molecules we took up, that is hydrogen and nitrogen, happen to be reasonably okay, because that is what we are familiar with. Even the experiment also supports that kind of a description. We know that nitrogen molecule has the structure as we just described. But what happens is, the moment we move from a diatomic molecule to larger molecules, say a polyatomic one, we find that the valence bond theory proves to be inadequate. It does provide a description of the bond formation, the process of bond formation, but it does not provide any information about the geometry or the structure of the molecule. So, that is where it proves to be inadequate. This initial inadequacy of valence bond theory was taken care of later by invoking a concept of what is called as hybridization. Linus Pauling was the person behind it, wherein he invoked the concept of hybridization, which probably you learnt at your school also, wherein what we do is we take different atomic orbitals of a given atom, and those atomic orbitals mix with each other, they merge into one another. It's a purely mathematical exercise and give rise to new molecular orbitals, new orbitals which are called as hybrid orbitals. And those hybrid orbitals are the ones, if I invoke them, then probably I will be in a position to give a reasonable description of the geometry or the shape of the molecule there. So in the next episode or in the next session, we will talk about this concept of hybridization in detail. We will see that why do we need hybridization, what is hybridization, and how does hybridization explain or describe the geometry of simple polyatomic molecules there. Okay. Now, let us sum up what we have done today. What we have done today is we started by reviewing the concept of previous session. In the previous session, you would wherein we learnt about the molecular orbital theory, and we saw that how does it help in understanding the bonding in homonuclear diatomic molecules. And the most pertinent observation we had there was of that oxygen molecule happens to be paramagnetic. That could be explained only on the basis of molecular orbital theory. Thereafter, in today's session, we described the basic approach of valence bond theory, wherein we said that the valence bond approach amounts to the two atoms which are going to form a bond. They approach each other, and the orbitals of the two approach each other. When they come closer, they overlap. In the process of overlapping, there is a increase in electron density in the internuclear region, and this electron density holds these two nuclei together, and we say a bond is formed. So, that is a basic description we had there. Then thereafter, we explained the quantum mechanical description of bonding in simple molecule like hydrogen, and we took two theories for that. We had a valence bond description, we also had a molecular orbital description, both quantum mechanically speaking, and then we compared the two. We compared the two, and we found that the valence bond treatment was quite simplistic. It only considered the covalent structures and did not have any component of ionic structures. On the other hand, the molecular orbital theory was all comprehensive. It gave equal weightage to covalent as well as ionic structures, and we found that these two theories can be modified slightly here and there, so that the two they merge into one another and give a reasonably good description, which is in accordance with the experimental observations of the molecule. And towards the end, we initiated our discussion on bonding in polyatomic molecules, wherein we said that we need to invoke the concept of hybridization to describe the shapes of such molecules. This we are going to take up in the next session. Thank you.